Hi, beautiful beings under the stratosphere. Welcome to Emotional Crisis Control number 5 on nourishment. So, everything that exists is vibration. And since that's true, I'll leave you a link to the video on frequencies and vibrations in all the atoms and all the cells. That's what all this channel is actually about. And emotional crisis control is how can I, in these 7 steps, or could be seen also as 7 days, regulate my frequency and come out of a state of emotional crisis. And if everything is vibration, that means that I'm vibrating a certain way, and this will contage and impregnate my surrounding, and everything that I am going to nourish myself with will be impacted by this frequency. So if you're cooking or making a meal, then the meal is going to be impacted by how you've been feeling the last few days or what has happened. So I remember when I was I just had an argument, a fight with a partner of mine, and I decided that my way to detox that was I'll just go ahead and go cook lunch. It was just an automatic, like, clean, wash, do something in the house, which would have been perfect. It would have been perfect. It would have been ideal had it not been something that I was going to feed back into myself. And I remember by the time I got done preparing it and I was serving it on the food, on the plate, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't eat this. This is like completely, I was on my own. So who's going to know? Who's going to care? I threw the whole thing in the trash. And I went and got myself a package of bread and cheese, elements that were neutral ahead of time. So the tip here is make food, eat food that has been made by others or has already been previously prepared. Don't use making your food or cooking as one of your detox methods. having some verbal situations going on here. So I also have written down salads and fruit salads are really great. They have high water content, and normally they have not been altered if you pick up an apple, if you eat a banana, it hasn't been cut, manipulated, chopped, marinated. Nothing is it's in its pure vibrational form. So this is safe to eat as well. I did put avoid cheese, dairy, and eggs. I think this is cultural for me in Bolivia. Whenever you're not feeling well, if you're going to travel, if you're going to do a change in altitude, whenever you're adjusting, and I consider emotional crisis for sure an adjustment, you don't have dairy products or eggs. For some reason, they don't sit well in the stomach. This is well known from where I'm from. So I'm just going to throw that in there. That could be a good tip. And it's a great opportunity to eat out, right? Save yourself the pain and the trouble to find out what you're going to eat at home. Go ahead and take yourself out and eat something that someone else has cooked. Or in the States especially, they have the frozen meals or the ready-made meals, or things that are just, they have the salad already done. You don't have to prepare it or do anything to it. So that is in terms of nurturing yourself with food. And the other ones are music. That's a huge one. I remember when I was 15 or 16, I was going through a breakup, and for some reason in my masochistic mind, I thought it was applicable and it fit the mood to play music that was melancholic, slow, romantic, really let myself feel and drift into this pain and spiral down in that direction. And I think I really, really wrecked some good amount of hours and time, maybe even weeks. And if the tape would end, because back then it was the tapes, no, it was the one side, the other side, and I moved on with my life, and all of a sudden I started forgetting about my pain. It's like, oh no, I wanted to stay there. I wanted to go back there. For some reason that was like pleasant for me to grieve this relationship. So I'd start the tape all over again. And now I'm like way on the other side of that idea or that spectrum where I say, don't play anything that triggers. Don't go places where you're going to hear sounds or music that is not going to keep you either neutral or give you some uplifting frequency or vibration. Nowadays, I'd say go ahead and tune into 777 for happiness, an 888 for abundance, right? Go for these higher frequencies that are now available on YouTube. There's this one guy, the one that I told you at the beginning, where everything that exists is vibration, from Abel Hart. And I love following his little clips. He has the whole song. This sound, this vibration, this beauty of bouncy energy that he brings. Sure, it might be that in crisis, you're like, I'm not ready for that yet. But that is better than exposing yourself to the darkness of things. In the moment of crisis, there is always a period for mourning and dwelling. And when your frequency and your emotions have stabilized, this is the time to deal with the process. But at the moment when you're in the depths of it, that is not the best time to throw yourself further down the pit with these elements, because they can be pretty strong triggers, I would say. So the music, there's sounds. There's some weird bird sounds sometimes, like crows, and I don't know. Just like be mindful. What are the sounds around you? How they affect you? Something that's continuous. There's also the traffic. If it, in any case, if it's possible, go ahead and get away. Like, get out of town. Go spend a few days at a friend's house in the country. This is where reaching out sometimes for a little bit of help or assistance, just not even having to explain why, just telling someone, could come visit you for a few days, will shift up the sounds and the energy. And the next one, which is the places, the space. So thankfully, when we're in high school, normally the situations or the crisis or the breakups happen at a party. Everything's outside normally of the house, hopefully. So then you go back home, you have your room, and here is your place of safety where you can dwell. If this isn't your place of safety and you are in that age range, then consider going to some service, a boys and girls club, or a friend, or if you know church people, church members, and say, I'm looking for a place where I need to feel safe because I'm dealing with a complete emotional turnover at this point, or finding out what every state has available, because I know there are places, and there is no need for you to suffer in your location on top of the fact of what you just lived, right? So this is a good thing to make sure. How is the place? And don't go to the places that are loaded with this energy. So I used to work in a nightclub, and if things were going on, the best thing would be to go home after the nightclub. But then there's the after hours, and there's always this possibility that I would end up somehow, my internal magnet of wanting to research for that situation or that person, or that's something like, how you never want the night to end. It's almost like you don't want that cycle of it's almost like you're attracted to the place of pain because you keep thinking about it and that you know it's there. And then somehow you end up there. And this was very interesting. I remember thinking about that. Of all the places I could have gone that evening, how come that we ended up here? And it's kind of like you'd be like, but they chose it. What was I going to do? as if I couldn't say no. Anyway, don't go to places of regret or confusion. And the last one on nourishment and things that you're going to bring into yourself during this specific period is the people. How key this is. Now, I think we talked about it in when you use your words. We also had a little chat about choosing the right person to talk to. This one is choosing the right people to be around you in that time. Here, I don't think there's a specific qualification to say, don't go with X kind of people, go with Y kind of people. You will know what the group of people is or what the sensation of being with those people is when you're with them and you feel you are separate or you are disconnected from them. That means that that you're still in your head processing and you can't really jump in and join in and laugh and enjoy like whatever they do. You're still, it's not benefiting you at that moment to be with those people. And there's where finding the safe place also comes in play, because if that's something where the dynamic is at home and you feel that you have settled into the Cold War. Sorry about my squeaky chair. You're having the Cold War at home, and that is not going to help you come out of the vibrational state of emotional crisis. You're trying to get out of that severe sympathetic mode. Then that is where, because the person lives there, then you need to find another safe place. No one is saying move out, right? We're saying a day, one night, offer yourself one night of peace at an Airbnb, at a friend's house. It has amazed me when I have taken just the one night. I remember I didn't have the person at my house, but I had issues going on where I lived in the city, and I would just get on the bus, drive 2 hours down into the jungle, and spend one night in the jungle in the hotel with my friend, and have a French breakfast in the morning, and wake up to the birds and the green and the atmosphere. And I was just like, just like cut it, snap that, like right in the roots. After lunch, hugs, all good, and goodbye. And I was going back to the city and completely had reframed my situation. So don't underestimate like what's one night gonna do. It can do some stuff, especially if your intensity is down here. One night has much more power than if the intensity is kind of here. You'll feel maybe this from one night, right? So that's what I got on nourishment. And this one you can apply from day one. Actually, you should apply from day one after you do your intensity for bursts of 1 minute. And then you do number 2, which is keeping it going for 60 minutes. Then when you get down, you're going to drink something, you're going to be at home and start doing stuff. Think, okay, what is the food that I'm going to have? Is this place okay where I'm at? And what are the sounds and the people that are around me? That's why I have printed out this guide, which is the 7 stairs to come out of emotional crisis, because a lot of times we won't think of these things. we're in crisis, right? We're not in self-help thing. So I was even thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, it should be a magnet on my fridge. So whenever something happens, I can be like, all right, number one, I just got to do number one and do these things, then do number two, and I don't have to think. I'm just going to have it. This is going to be my lead magnet, I think. That's what I think it's going to be, because it should be something everyone has in their pocket, because these things, we don't have practice with this all the time, because these things arrive out of nowhere, It can be totally unexpected. You just come home one day and just someone calls you or appears at your house, or there's like a confrontation waiting for you, and all of a sudden it becomes something. It turns into the beast, how I call it now. So it turns into the beast, and you're like, right? What do I do with this now? And the body starts to shift and to change. And well, in my case, my escape was the bathroom. And when I was leaning over the toilet in the bathroom in an apartment that was empty, that my mother was loaning us in the city to stay while my daughter was had been born, so right after she was born. And looking back now, I can see that that's when the emotional crisis had gone into full scale. There were several buildups, but I was still managing. I was still holding on. But this was the point of breakage, and yeah, that's why this exists. That's why we're here, because I said, how can it be that in this age and stage of society, we're completely unprepared for emotional crisis, which is almost where it's almost like I know what to do with a broken foot or broken leg, or when any other kind of crisis seems a little bit more manageable. But when it's internal and things are kind of coming out of, you're not seeing, like, I could not figure out how to come back out of the bathroom. So yeah, it's it's real. It's real, this crisis. So that's why we're here, and that's what we're going to offer in the link. It might not be there yet. I'm putting the things together as I organize the channel, but I am so loving this work. I'm hoping this is useful information to have in our pocket. This one is actually lifelong. Even if I'm not having an emotional crisis, I always watch what vibration I was cooking the food in and making sure that I was tip top, because that's like firewood heats you twice. Nutrition also feeds you twice because you cook it and make it in the vibration. It does that for you. And then you're going to eat whatever it is also that you put into it. All right. So I'll see you in the next video, which is number 6, the power of pause. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, every day you are waking up stronger. Bye.